20 minutes. Do you have a hard stop or anything that we need to be respectful of right now? Okay, no, so 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever it works out to be is okay for you.
If we run longer, we could always split it up. So we'll just chat and see how we go, right? Yeah. We could always figure out a way to do that. So why did I not get notified? Oh, I just got notified. Beautiful. That is fantastic. Okay, so Michael, if you go to my account, we just tagged you on your account on X in case you want to push this to your account while we record. It's up to you. Okay,
I'm on we still don't have internet here in Augusta.
Is that right?
So I don't want to do anything to mess up the connection.
You're dealing with
after the show.
Okay, cool.
That sounds great. Yeah, that's perfect. Let me just post my comment here. All right. There we go. Let's see.
It's been a wild couple of weeks here.
I can imagine, man.
Yeah, man. Wait, you're down in Florida or somewhere in the path of the Augusta. Oh, yeah. So you were in the path of the first hurricane. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's wild.
We were not expecting it at all.
Oh,
yeah.
Not prepared in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I can imagine. Your stories that you've been posting on X, about getting help and helping other people. It's incredible. Amazing.
Fellow Xer.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, the funny thing is Nick Huber, I don't know if you know him, but he's I think a lot of what he posts is his character, right? His brand and all that kind of stuff. But certainly, a generous and helpful guy, according to his interactions with Michael. So,
that's nice. Yeah. That's good to see. I like that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I like that. Cool.
Okay, I could be ready anytime.
I was born ready.
Let's go.
We're gonna make the magic happen here. I say that, of course. It's a lie.
Let me make a comment first. If you're joining us live streaming, we're here with Michael Prendamano. That's a great last name, by the way.
Yeah, and you got it right.
Yeah, I've been practicing.
We practiced before you got here. For sure.
Prendamano. Sound it out. We've got 74 live streams. What did we have last week? Over 600?
600, I think, by the time we finished.
So we want to try to break that record today. If you see me hold my hands up in the victory salute, that means we are over our 600 streamers joining us. And we're going to record. We typically record 2 shows, live stream while we do it, and then we push out an episode tomorrow on Wednesday and another one on Friday. And I'm ready now.
All right, let's rock and roll here. I don't like the way that looks at all.
That's a little thick.
Nope.
A little thick. Yeah.
We'll try this.
Good.
How's that? I'm gonna adjust something else here.
Yeah, get it to 2 lines, so you get to see the process as we do it. See, nothing to hide. I got to scroll up, though, because I can't watch myself on X and record. It freaks me out. There you go.
That's much better. Okay, let's make the magic happen here and see if I can keep the frogs out of my throat. Business Brain, episode 592. 592. Wow, have we done that many of them? For Wednesday, October 23rd. National Slap Your Coworker Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we crunch them, we dissect them, we analyze them, we use them to tune our business brains so that we can each keep living those charmed lives. Our sponsor for this episode is a new one. It's Vanta.com/brain. Vanta automates your ISO 27001, your SOC 2, your GDPR, and at that link, you can save $1,000. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in Northern California. I'm Shannon Jean. I love that Vanta is sponsoring us. I was just driving take my kids back to the airport in San Francisco, and there's Vanta billboards up there, and one said something to the effect of, I'm not going to say it right, but it said, something, use Vanta so your security doesn't SOC 2, because it's the play on words.
SOC2, yeah.
SOC2. And I was like,
that.
oh, it's cool. And my son-in-law uses their stuff. So that's great. I'm glad to have them aboard.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
also super stoked today because I'm going to get to learn the most here today. I always talk about how,
no, my brain is a sponge. It's going to be me. I get to learn.
It's going to be. So we're joined by Michael Prendamano, who runs a business called The Bin Store. And, I'm a huge product sales guy, liquidation guy, auctions, aquadation.
Aquadation. You almost coined a new term.
I'm going to say it. I'm come up with it.
I'm in.
So, yeah, let's do it. So, Michael and I talk a lot. He, on the X platform, he's got a great business. I'm fascinated by the business model. Michael, thank you for being with us today. I'm really happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. Go ahead.
I want to dive right in, man. Like, what do you do? Talk. What's the Bin Store?
Sure. So I guess kind of the elevator pitch here is the Bin Store is kind of an interesting spin on liquidation in a retail setting. So we have a fixed pricing model. So what that means is, for instance, Friday is our $6 day. Anything you find in the bins on Friday is $6 per item. It could be literally a Apple MacBook. It could be a gaming system. It could be a luxury purse. Anything in the entire store is $6 per item. We have 2 days like that called our restock days, which is Friday and Saturday. Then the price drops $1 per day. This is where it gets interesting. Sunday is $5, Monday is $4, Tuesday is $3, Wednesday is $2, and Thursday is $1. We usually get cleared out on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we do it all over again for the next week. And that's...
Dude, I have so many questions.
I mean, obviously you've got to be able to make money. So there's some scale here, many $6 purchases and probably a bunch of folks that are trying to game the system and time it right and all those things. And the gamification makes it interesting. How many customers do you see in there a week?
So I can tell you by the numbers. So there's, and Shannon will appreciate this. There's in season and there's off season.
Okay.
So we're kind of coming out of off season, going into in season right now. Off season, between the two stores, we'll move 25,000 products a week. In season, we move about 40,000 plus per week, individual products.
Love it.
Wow.
Love
Yeah,
love
so
this idea.
In total, we move, again, between two locations, 1.75 million products a year.
And this is a guy that started this in his storage shed in his backyard. I want to just point that out.
Yes.
That this is something that, if you read his story, which we'll link in the show notes, his profile on X, Michael started this by selling stuff around his house and learning this system and moving from in the house out to his storage shed and then figuring it out and taking one step at a time. And that's why I love this. Not only do I love the business model because I don't know how it works, but I love I don't know how you make money at it, but I love talk about that, this gradual, what was the timeline that got you moved out and got your storage shed and then got your first retail space? Because it's powerful, man.
I think you'll appreciate this, Shannon. I started, like you said, I started in retail arbitrage. So I'd go around to stores, I'd look for products that I could sell online for more money. And that was great, made a little bit of money, but there was not a lot of scale there. And I'm always trying to scale whatever I'm doing. So then I jumped into pallets. I started buying individual pallets. Did really well. Profit wise, it was fantastic.
And you were still in your shed. You're still selling this stuff like that. Okay, great.
I was in my shed. I was in my garage. I was in my living room, and I have an extremely tolerant wife.
Nice. That's important.
We always say that you gotta have a partner that at least is willing to accept your brand of crazy. Yeah.
Yes. And there's a lot of it there, so she's fantastic. But I was kind of all over the house doing this. And then, Shannon, the part that I think you'll appreciate is my death pile started to grow. And essentially what that is, when you're buying in bulk, what I do is I put things into buckets as I break down products. So I know, okay, here I can sell these easily on eBay. I could sell this on Poshmark. I could sell this here. And then once you get through all of that, sometimes you're left with a pile of stuff that's just not suitable to sell online.
Yeah.
If it could be because of the price, it could be because of the weight, there's a lot of different factors there. But my death pile was growing substantially, and I was just looking for a way to move that product, 'cause I don't like any waste. Like everyone else, trying to maximize as much as I can. And I sat down one day with a piece of paper and kind of started sketching this idea out. On one side I put, what I thought all the potential expenses would be for a venture like this, and the other side, the potential revenue. And it balanced out and went forward.
All right, folks, look, whether you're starting or scaling your company's security program, demonstrating top-notch security practices and establishing trust is more important than ever. Our sponsor, Vanta, automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2, GDPR, and more, saving you time and money while helping you build customer trust. Plus, you can streamline security reviews by automating questionnaires and demonstrating your security posture with a customer-facing trust center, all powered by Vanta AI. This is one of my favorite uses of AI for us as business owners these days. Anything customer-facing that can be augmented with AI can make a huge difference, and Vanta's obviously doing that with Trust Center. Over 8,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. And because you're a listener to Business Brain, our audience gets a special offer of $1,000 off Vanta when you visit vanta.com/brain. That's vanta.com/brain for $1,000 off. And our thanks to Vanta for sponsoring this episode. So you had this death pile. I love that term. The things you couldn't sell online, and so in person it is, right? You gotta figure out a way to move it without putting it online.
Absolutely, and this was during a time where people were starting to shy away from retail a bit.
Oh yeah.
I
sure.
launched the first store kind of in the middle of COVID, so it was really a wild idea, but I felt that if we could, something I always focus on with my managers, with my team, we have over 60 employees now, is what kind of value are we delivering to the customer today, this week, this month? And when you make that the focal point, I believe it helps you drive the volume that you need to drive to be successful. I think that a lot of us have lost sight of the customer these days.
Yeah.
In experience, in value, in everything.
Yeah. And giving value first, right? That
Yes.
you guys are doing that first, and then it comes back to you.
I've long said many times on this show that every business is the customer service business. And those of us that understand that, it's like we have the magic bullet, because there's so many businesses that just don't get it. And it's weird to me, but it is. So it's fine.
So okay. You realize you got this death pile, you got to get something going.
Right.
Did you start out in a small space, or did you think, hey, we're going to need a big warehouse, or, tell us how that worked?
Yeah. So I would say I probably went to like a medium size space right out of the gate. I figured if I was going to do it, go big. And see if it has legs or not. Actually, pulling from one of your previous episodes in terms of risk aversion, money, not wanting to sign a personal guarantee, afraid of failing, all the things that you guys spoke about. It was definitely going through my head at that time. But I found that, the more successful you are, the more risk you take on, and you have to be okay with that. So I went ahead and I have a real estate background. So I negotiated a really great lease for my first store. I got, if I'm recalling correctly, I think it was 8 months free rent right out of
Wow.
the gate.
Nice.
It was about 9,000 square feet, and that gave us the ability to get propped up and running within about 2 months, and then I had 6 months of no rent to start paying back a lot of the expenses that I
Huge.
laid out. Because rent in
Dude.
this business is your second line item in terms of expenses. Obviously
Yeah.
product is first.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah,
Right,
I
because you
love
need
that.
space. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
and I love that the stat you're, using your talent stack to, all the things that you've just learned over time. That you're like, okay, I know this real estate game. That's going to help me with my other business. It's going to be, it's huge. It's important. What?
And if I may add,
Yeah.
also to add on to that, previous failures too. Not
Yeah.
everything that you touch
Oh.
is a instant success.
You're
So
preaching to the choir,
Wait,
man.
what?
But it surprised me to hear you say that, number one, inventory, I get that. Number two is rent versus I thought number two would be, employees. You've got 60 employees, but
they're close, and I have
Okay.
60 employees that are siloed into different companies.
Got it.
So I have a parent company which is Bin Store Brands, and that oversees all of the companies. And then there's one set up for each individual store. I have one set up for our warehouse and pallet business, and down the line. But when I run a P&L every week for the stores, which is not very typical, but because of the nature of this business, I felt like it's necessary because there's a lot of variables, a lot of things can change quickly. And running a P&L every week allows me to see where the numbers are coming in, and then I can use my levers, and my levers are, there's not a lot of them, but how much product we put out. I could throttle that. So
I see.
yeah, when you buy a
That's great.
truckload in this business, each individual box represents X amount of dollars. So if sales are light one week, I'll pull back maybe a box or two. But as we go, like currently, as we go into the holiday season, I'll ramp it up and I'll put an extra 6 boxes in because I know that we're gonna sell more product.
That's fascinating. I have lots more questions now.
Sure.
So, okay, so you get set up, and this model is what I'm fascinated about with the pricing. Talk about inventory purchases that allow you to, offer this $6, 665, 4321, whatever, and still profit and grow your business. Yeah, tell me, just pretend I know nothing because I know nothing. So tell me how it works.
No, you know a lot. And one of these things may actually make you gasp, but I buy a lot of product from our largest online retailer.
Sure.
And that product is actually manifested. But this is the part that's probably going to make you gasp. I rarely look at the manifest. Yeah,
Gasp.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with, and I'll explain why in a minute. I'm concerned with piece count. I know the condition of the product based on the facility that it's coming out of. We've been pulling out of certain facilities for a very long time, so I'm comfortable with the product condition and the product mix. And what I mostly care about is the piece count. What is my cost per piece, and
Sure.
that is driven by our pricing schedule. So if I was trying to sell things at $10 or $12 per item to start the week, I'd be much more concerned what was coming in. But at $6, we have there's waves of people that come in throughout the day. The first wave is the treasure hunters. They're interested in the drones and the gaming systems and all of the great stuff that comes in, as a lot of people are. But then we're open for 8 hours. So once that stuff is found, you want people to still come into the store. What are they looking for? Well, at $6, they're buying detergent and they're buying clothing and they're buying bedding and a lot of the consumables that you need for everyday life. And that wasn't by mistake. That was by design. And on the purchasing side, this business can get extremely complicated sometimes, especially when you're diving into a lot of manifests. It's very time consuming. And when you're running a business like this, I'm concerned with product. Obviously, we need good product for our stores, but I don't dive into the weeds on that stuff. I care about cost per piece.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense when you put it out that way, because of the retail price that you're selling each piece for.
Right.
You're not dealing with people that are buying $300 items. I mean, there might be a item that's worth $300, but they've only paid $6 for it. So yeah,
and that gives us a customer for life.
Yeah,
it
I can
sure
imagine.
does.
And exponentially, because they tell everybody forever, that they got. So do you seed the bins? I've seen pictures of your store. If you go to the links that we'll put in the show notes at businessbrain.show, you can see them too. Do you seed stuff in there, or do you just dump it in? And I don't want to say dump. If you place it in carefully, and what's in there is what's in there.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a business behind this.
Sure.
And I'd love to have you out to the warehouse one day.
I'd love to come.
Look around. But everything that comes in those 24 boxes every week goes into the bins. Now, what we do is we set up the store for convenience, right? We want to make this, we want to make it bright. We want to make it, cold in the summer and warm in the winter. And these things, as I say these things, you're like, of course, but people in this industry don't necessarily do that. But we'll set up, one bin will be just for fabrics, and one bin will be for bedding, and one will be for food. And then we have a lot of general merchandise bins, and we make sure that there's a lot of small products and a lot of large products, and it's all measured and it's all by design to make sure that we have enough products in the bins every single week to sell, 12, 13,000 per store in the off season and sell 20,000 in season.
Yeah, that's really cool. Was it difficult to find suppliers, or talk about the supplier acquisition and how important that is?
Sure. I would say in the beginning, it was definitely difficult. The more you sell and the more product you can move, the more valuable you are. These major retailers have a lot of the same issues that we have. That you think about these fulfillment centers that are 2, 3, 4, 500,000 square feet, and you're like, oh my gosh, how could they ever run out of space? They do. They do. And it happens often. And if you are in a position to move that product for them, you're solving a problem for them.
This is like what you did, Shannon, when you started out. You bought.
You're adding problem.
You said, "I'll buy everything."
Yeah, you're adding value to both sides of the chain, or both sides of it, right? The equation to the customer, because it's such a great price and the product quality, whatever, and then to the supplier, because you're going in there. I've stood in those warehouses, man, and had people like. I was like a rock star, because I was like, well, I'll take this quarter of the whole warehouse. And they were like, what?
You're solving our problem.
Thank you so much. That kind of thing. So
of course.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. So the flip side of that question is, how do you guys get your customers?
That's a great question. It's a multi-prong approach, I would say. I believe in everything from what we call like guerrilla marketing, or the ground game. I do flyers, make sure that every customer that comes to the store gets a little postcard flyer that they can put on their refrigerator, if they still do that. I don't know. It's 2024.
Nice.
We do that. We do digital advertising. We do YouTube videos. SEO. SEO is extremely important. We have someone in-house that handles all of that for us, and that was his business prior to this. And he said, I love what you're doing, and I want to jump on board.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. And Facebook is still pretty important.
Yeah. You put reels up and stuff and talk about, show people about shopping and all that kind of thing and get excitement going. Yeah.
We do that, but what's interesting is probably the most traction that we get are from our static photos. So every Thursday night before $6 Friday, we'll put out 30 photos of what's going to be in the bins. And that gets the most
to whet the appetite of the treasure hunters.
Yes.
Just love it.
Or
love it.
give them an idea of what's going to be in there. If they do they want to get up early on Friday or not? And a lot of times those pictures will dictate that. And we do the same thing on Friday night for Saturday.
That's so great. I have no interest in starting a bin store, but listening to Michael talk, I have interest in starting a bin store.
Yeah.
I just can't help it. I'm always just like, okay, I can see how to do that. And everybody loves a bargain. I love the treasure hunt. I love auctions. I love liquidation stuff. And it's great, fascinating to hear this story. If you don't follow Michael Prendamano on X, you should. We're live streaming up there now, but if you're just listening to the audio, if businessbrain.show will have his account linked. I know he helps other people now start bin stores, and he also sells you wholesale stuff to other bin store operators type things, right?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
two other divisions. We have a 25,000 square foot pallet warehouse that's open to the public. So we sell all kinds of product, which ties into the bin store too. If we ever buy something that pallet buyers don't want, we send it to the store.
Terrific.
We do free consulting, and we have a licensing division if you ever want to use our
Great,
brand.
man. I love it. I love
smart.
it. I'm super excited about this. I know we'll be seeing and hearing a lot more. Thank you for coming on and explaining how this works. Once again, I learned the most on this show.
This is it's at shopbinstores.com is where people can learn more about this, right, Michael?
Yep,
Great.
shopbinstores.com. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Like he said, thanks for coming on the show. Folks, if you have questions for Michael, you can find shopbinstores.com. You can find him on X. You can email us feedback at businessbrain.show, and we're happy to pass your questions along to Michael or answer them if they're for us. Thanks for hanging out. Keep living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday. And we're out. We're still live streaming those, so
Yes.
just don't like take your shirt off unless that's something you've been dying to do, in which case, by all means, whatever.
Yeah. That's great. That's cool. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Like I said, I'm really intrigued, and I think it's because I feel like I've squeezed the blood out of liquidation sales, so many different ways my entire life, and this idea really excites me because it's new to me and super interesting, and I know we'll be talking more about this concept. But thanks again for coming and hanging out. And we post this tomorrow, I'll link back to you, and you can get some more traction out of it. And you did great for your first podcast, man. You nailed it out of the park.
You were a natural. Yeah, man, totally. Yeah. Like it was an easy conversation, right? Like that's all it needs to be. Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you so
much.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. I will see you in the chat, and we'll be in touch. And thanks again, Michael.
I wish you great success, man. Obviously you're already having it. Like it's great. I love it. Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Take care.
Awesome.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.
That was great.
Yep.
It's a crazy, crazy business model. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And, he wasn't afraid. I mean, he talked about this, but I was really impressed by the fact that he was not afraid to scale it.
Yeah. Well,
maybe he was afraid.
We should do this on the Friday show.
Yeah,
let's talk about the lessons from this, because there's so much to it. And it's, to me, it's just a perfect example of what we've been talking about for 10 years, So let's dig into it as soon as you're done. So if you're following the live stream, there's about 317 of you now. Dave is getting that first episode ready for where I will go up after we record Friday's show, which is coming up next, and do some work on it with some software to get it posted. But it's great because this allows us to publish quickly and not, if you put barriers inside in front of all the stuff you do, like, work. We need great photos, and I got to go tweak the sound, and I've got to do this with the lighting, and I've got to do that. You need a team of people, and it slows everything down. And so we pushed it out. The content wins over all those other things. Great content. And
release schedule consistency.
Yeah,
the content sometimes loses. When I started breaking this down, because I've been teaching this method in various ways this year at different conferences, and what I realized is, of course, you can only have one prime directive, right? And so when I came up with this system 20 years ago for Mac Geek Gab, release consistency was the prime directive. Like, figure out a way so that can happen. And I set a 15-minute timer. When the red light turns off, I want to be able to publish and have the episode live in 15 minutes. That's changed a little bit over the years, but it's still basically the same idea.
Sure.
And then the secondary directive was audio quality, because if it was tough to listen to, people weren't going to stick around for very long.
Yeah, you are a stickler for that, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that was it. Like, as I point this out to people, I'm like, so those are the two directives. You'll note that content quality was nowhere on this list, and that's okay, because the show sucked at first.
Yeah.
But I knew that by repetition we would get better at content, and that's true about this show. That's true about any show I do.
Yeah.
But without the opportunity to repeat it, the content quality was irrelevant, because we weren't releasing. So
you got to put the releasing. Reps, right.
You just got to get your reps in. That's it. Yeah.
It's the system, this muscle that you're exercising. You get it used to it. I've learned a lot. Like this year with coaching, now I really try to not sell 1 month coaching packages, because I was like, it's just not enough time.
No,
I'll give you half off if you book 3 months, because
you got it.
It's I'll be more successful. You'll be more successful, because we will have time to work together. And it takes, a couple of weeks just to figure out how to work together.
Learn how to work with somebody. This is why when we sell ads, most of the time we sell. We know that 3 episodes is the bare minimum to do a test. And so we do buy 3, get 1. Because that way you are incentivized to buy those 3. That's really all it's about.
Yeah.
But now I know that you're actually getting 4, which is even better than 3 to start to develop reporting and data and all of the things that are going to show you that this is working, so that you want to renew.
I love it. That's great. And a lot of that value conversation ties into what Michael was talking about. So, I think it's terrific for Friday.
Yep. All right, we'll start with that, and then I think I have a topic for a second topic too.
That's great. That sounds great.
One. Yep. All right. Here goes nothing. Business Brain, episode 593 for Casual Friday, October 25th, World Pasta Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain. Welcome back to Business Brain if it's not your first time here. On Business Brain, we take an idea or 2, or sometimes 3. We dissect them, we use them, we analyze them, we employ them to help us learn how best to tune our business brains so that we can keep on living those charmed lives. Our sponsor for this week is Vanta.com/brain. Vanta automates compliance for your ISO 27001, SOC 2, GDPR, all while helping you build customer trust. And you can save $1,000 at that link. And I'm going to tell you more about how you can do that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in Northern California, I'm Shannon Jean. $1,000. That's pretty good.
I love that.
A deal like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. How can you say no?
How can you say no? I love good deals. I was so stoked to have Michael Prendamano on the show on Wednesday and talk about his bin store concept.
Yeah, we got to dissect that. That's how we're going to tune our business brains here for at least the first little segment. Yep.
Yeah, I love the. Well, I'm sure it's very there's a lot of complexities to it, but I love the simplicity of it. It's that, hey, on Friday, and I don't know if I have this exact, but Friday, everything in the store is $6. Saturday, $6. But on Sunday, it goes to $5. Monday, $4, and then 3, 2, 1 until it's done. And I just love that concept because it's so easy to explain to somebody. And then when people pick out, it's like a treasure hunt when the first group gets through there on that Thursday or that Friday, and they're finding, Apple Watches or gaming systems or whatever it is. Yeah, for $6, man. That customer.
I should have asked him how many elbows get thrown on that, because this reminds me of what used to happen anyway. I don't know if it still does.
Black Friday,
like 5 a.m. on Black Friday. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it might. But it might.
Yeah, it might.
I don't know. What I liked, and I've talked to Michael a few times, and every time he talks about his business, the focus is on value. And he really gets this fundamental idea and concept that if they don't add value, and they're like at the extreme, right, of value, man, where everything, especially when it comes to price. Because like we always say, don't compete on price, but his whole model is...
He flipped that upside down. He's like, let's embrace it.
Blow up the pricing model and do something completely different. And make it up in the averages, right? In the volume. They do like 1.3 million, packages a year or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, but understanding that there's two sides to it in this liquidation business. One is adding value to the customer because they're getting a great deal on a product that maybe they couldn't afford. I mean, he's talking about people, not the treasure hunt aspect, but people coming in buying, staples for their home. Right. Maybe they couldn't afford it, or they're just so happy to get it at such a great deal. But the other insightful thing is understanding the value you're adding to the supplier and to the supply chain. That's huge, because if you treat your suppliers like they're another customer, it's like greases the tracks, man, because they love you and you need them, right?
And it's such, I said this when we were talking to Michael, but it's such an easy thing to do. Well, let me take that back. It's not necessarily always easy to be delivering customer service, but it's an easy concept to understand.
Yes.
That you can say, okay, everyone is a customer. Our vendors are our customers. The people that buy from us are our customers. The people that deliver from our vendors also are customers. Like everybody in our employees are our customers, right? Treating everyone.
That's right.
It's such that they feel valued and actually are valued. That's an easy concept to understand. Organizing your business to deliver on that.
Harder to implement.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to implement when you're doing it from day one because you're setting the culture that way. But it's not impossible to adapt a business to do that. And you can do it. I mean, really, it just comes down to mindset, I think. But I'm the guy that's been saying every business is the customer service business for 25 years. So maybe I'm not the right guy to ask about adapting a business to that.
No, it can be challenging, but if that is your core, your credo or whatever your noble cause, if that it's much easier to push it through your entire organization. It's like, hey, we've got to make sure this stuff is good for these people that come in and pay, and this, that, and the other thing, and then we've got to make sure we take care of these suppliers and all this kind of stuff, and then. What I absolutely love about his story is the starting with nothing, right? Learning to sell by selling stuff he had laying around his house and his garage.
He didn't need to source. He had no suppliers at first. He was the supplier.
Yeah,
and his junk.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah. I tell people this now. It's like, if you're planning on building a business like selling on eBay or Poshmark or whatever, go register your accounts today. It costs nothing. And learn how to go through the process. Go start watching people that are successful at it. What are the best practices? Just get started. And this guy sold out of his, storage shed at his house, and then slowly took over the house until, he was like, okay, we got to do it. And then he already had his talent stack in place for his real estate business, which helped him get a great deal there when he was negotiating his first lease. Just a great story. I love it. I think we'll hear more from him.
Yeah. All right, folks. Look, whether you're starting or scaling your company's security program, demonstrating top-notch security practices and establishing trust is more important than ever. Our sponsor, Vanta, automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2, GDPR, and more, saving you time and money while helping you build customer trust. Plus, you can streamline security reviews by automating questionnaires and demonstrating your security posture with a customer-facing trust center, all powered by Vanta AI. This is one of my favorite uses of AI for us as business owners these days. Anything customer-facing that can be augmented with AI can make a huge difference, and Vanta's obviously doing that with Trust Center. Over 8,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. And because you're a listener to Business Brain, our audience gets a special offer of $1,000 off Vanta when you visit vanta.com/brain. That's vanta.com/brain for $1,000 off. And our thanks to Vanta for sponsoring this episode. Hey, Shannon, I realized something this morning.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm running a family business now.
You have everybody. I don't mean to laugh, but you're right. As I see their names pop up in Slack,
Yeah.
on the and everything. So you've got everybody employed, even your son.
No.
Okay.
My
But not
son
the whole-
has worked for us. I'm talking
He
about
has.
Backbeat Media. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And
that's awesome, though.
What's interesting, it's I've always run everyone that has worked for us. I've never called our businesses teams a family first. Our employees have done that. And like when we were running Mac Observer, Lisa wasn't really involved in Mac Observer. I mean, people knew her and she did some behind the scenes stuff, but it was me and Brian and the team that we had, and no one was, as far as we know, no one was related,
Yeah, sure.
But everybody called it the TMO family. And Backbeat, when we started it, it had nothing to do with Lisa. In fact, she kind of thought it was a crazy idea, but it was fine. She supported it because that's important. Yeah. She's like, if you think it's going to work. I'm like, yeah, I do. Great. And the way Lisa got involved was really interesting. I knew that I needed help with the business. I had my partner, Greg. He had hired, by that point, I think he had hired another salesperson who's still with us. I've since bought Greg out of the partnership because he went on to form the Brooklyn Zen Center. But I knew I needed help, and I was interviewing people, and they would work. It was at a time where it would have been tough, I think, to have them work remotely. At least it didn't dawn on us to think about it that way.
Sure.
And so I was bringing people into the house, and it was like, okay, and I had office space that we had built out in the house, but they'd still be in the house. And so, Lisa was like, all right, well, it's got to be the right person because I got to be able to be comfortable with this and, this, that, I was like, yeah, of course, And I had interviewed 6 or 8 people. I was kind of getting close to finalizing it. And at dinner one night, she's like, hey, I was thinking today, what if I work for you?
Mm.
And I was like, well, we have a very small child. I mean, our daughter was, 2 or something. It was like, but she had already solved for this. She's like, I think I want to hire my sister to watch our daughter during the day. That way I can work for you. She's like, it would allow me to do things that aren't just like in baby land all the time.
That's a big deal. Yeah,
which was a big deal. And she's like, I know that, part of what you're going through with hiring people is bringing on somebody that you can trust. And it's going to be a slow road, being able to hand them some of the accounting stuff that I know you need to get off your plate. She's like, I feel like keeping that in the family might make that easier. And it was like, oh yeah, this would be perfect. And so obviously I hired her, and that's been the case for, 20 plus years. I'd hired my son to do some contract work for the businesses in a variety of different ways over time, doing some programming for us. And then my daughter, who I recently hired at Backbeat, she's been working with us for almost 5 years at this other company I have, started doing customer service, then and not reporting to me at all. We needed to hire family members with this other business because we had not built out our back end robustly enough. And it meant that anybody that had access to the back end to like do things for customers could also do things for themselves and
take
sort of abuse the system. I mean, maybe not take all of it, but there was a scenario where you could easily set up an embezzlement path, right?
Got it.
And that hole was not easily plugged the day we needed to start hiring customer service people. So we started hiring family members because we figured, well, if somebody's going to embezzle from us, treat it like an inheritance or something.
Sure.
Hopefully that didn't happen, and I don't think it did because we put those systems in place since then. But so my daughter came on there and was there for 3 years doing just customer service, which was a great job for her during college and all this other stuff. And then we expanded her into social media and then into sales. And once we moved her into sales, that brought her kind of into my world.
I see.
And so she's been doing sales with me there for about a year and crushing it. And I was having a chat with one of my folks at Backbeat, I don't know, about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago now. And he said to me, he's like, there's other salespeople out there. He's like, he was talking about moving into a different, like expanding his role. It was like, well, we need the sales cover. He's like, there's other salespeople out there. I'm like, yeah, we need to bring in. And I talked about this with you here on the show. I was like, well, we don't have the cash flow to hire a salesperson, but the salesperson would help us generate more cash flow. I'm fairly confident of that.
Chicken and egg,
yeah, it's a chicken and egg, right? And so we made that decision, obviously, and brought her in. But I already know how to work with her. I already know she's going to crush it at sales, and I trust her implicitly. A, because she's my daughter.
Yeah.
B, because she's worked for me for a year and one of my companies for 4 years. But she's also had those dinner table lessons. And I can't stress the value of dinner table lessons enough. The first time I noticed this was with my daughter. I was teaching her how to play drums for her school jazz band. And years prior to that, we had had a disastrous experience learning guitar together, to the point where we could not play instruments together. And then when she started playing the drums, we didn't even know it at home. She was just playing at school, and it sort of came up. She's like, oh, well, there's a concert on Thursday night. You should come. I was like, you're in the band? Like, what's this about?
Wow. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm playing drums. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm the drummer. I should be
I
helping
play
you.
drums. Like, what's going on here? She's like, yep, we need to keep this separate. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I remember the past. And then she came to me and she's like, all right, look, I need you to teach me how to play drum set because I need to learn for jazz band. And
I see.
It's auditions are in 4 months and I don't know how to do this and I want to. And so we came up with a formula and was like, okay, in the studio, we are not parent-child, we are teacher-student. And, it worked out. Obviously, it worked out great. But where she learned the most was actually back at the house at the dinner table because she would talk about her gigs or I would talk about mine. And just those, the 10 seconds worth of little tidbits of advice are so you talk about increasing 1% every day. And at the end of the year, you've gone up 365%. I would say any dinner table conversation was probably 5% improvement because it's just the little things. And she's always been getting those with the stuff we do at Backbeat because I bring it to the table and I talk about it.
Yeah, man, it's a lot to unpack here.
I know. I'll stop talking now.
I too run a family business. Everybody in my family has worked for us, just pretty much at one time. My wife, who's amazing, has worked. Now, she didn't work for us at the beginning with my businesses. I think it was we were about a decade into it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
when
So
I was
similar with Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was ready to start another company. And I'm always better with the partner. And the person that I was going to partner with at the time said, I'll do it under one condition. Renee, my wife, has to run the back office. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And Renee was working for a law firm at the time. And I said, hey, are you interested? Do you want to come over and do this?
Yeah.
And, we had very separate duties. So it was great. She didn't answer to me. I didn't answer to her. We both answered to cash flow, but, so we were going in the same direction, but it was separate enough. And, my kids have worked for us. My daughter worked for us as soon as she could put stickers on lollipops as a little kid. And I've got pictures of my son in huge pallet-sized boxes of iPhones, sorting and this kind of stuff. And they all learned it. I always tell people, if you want your kids to learn about money, just don't give them any, and tell them, especially if you own businesses, you're like, well, if you need money,
true.
I can show you how to make money. Come to me and I'll help you, or I'll hire you, or I'll show you how to flip stuff. I'll help you buy T-shirts and sell them, or tennis shoes, or anything. And we kind of did that, and it was great. They are definitely, they think differently about the way the world works and about money especially. And I feel that it's like a sense of confidence just kind of exudes from their skin, because we spent our entire life just changing our own reality and creating things that supported us, our family, and we shared that at the dinner table with these kids, and they knew how we did it. There was no guarantees, and when I failed, we shared those failures, and when we made it, we shared that stuff too. So I love the concept of working with family. There's pros and cons just like everything else, but
totally.
It's great. I think it's a tremendous benefit if you have the opportunity.
My biggest concern in terms of negatives is the perception. Potential negative.
Potential.
Like some people might see it as positive.
Yes.
And I sent out notes after Sky had been here for about 2 weeks at Backbeat.
Yep.
I sent out notes to all our major partners, sort of introducing her. Many of them had already encountered her because I immediately incorporated her into the sales process, because I want that off my desk as soon as I possibly can. Right. But I had one of our folks replied to me this morning. There was a problem I had with my email that I didn't realize until today, that there were 2 agencies that I did not send the email to. It sat in my drafts folder for an extra week. Nope. And it's it happens. It's fine. Yeah. So I just sent them out today.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, thanks. Well, they didn't even know it was late. Like this was just an announcement. It was a press release, effectively. Being sent via email. And this one woman said, "Nice to see another Hamilton join the family business." Cool. Yeah. And that was when it hit me. I was like, okay, so there's a perception here.
That's
okay. Cool. Fine. Fine. There's more than just us here. We have employees that have been here far longer than Skylar, obviously, but and Lisa, in fact, Jeff was here before Lisa. So yeah.
And I think that perception is to everybody. I've had my wife comment. She's like, "Hey, I don't want to be the owner's wife, working here. I bring my own value to the table," and that's really important. And to recognize that and to include them just as if they were a regular employee, and when things come up that are in their purview and their scope of expertise, they manage that.
Absolutely.
And so the other thing I would caution people is that they should be treated just like another employee. They should get their paycheck, their benefits, the retirement, the whole 9 yards. Because if you don't do that, like we have some kind of older friends that wives worked at their companies and everything, and they thought, oh, well, we just won't put you on the payroll. We'll save on the employee taxes and the Social Security, and we'll just take it all this way. But you know what? You never know what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden they're of an age, you're like, wait, I don't have this because I don't qualify. I don't have the 45 units or whatever you got to have for this
whatever the things you got to earn for Social Security and all that stuff. Yeah.
And so I would caution you against that method, is that they should just be in your
Treat
system.
them like anybody else.
Treat them like anybody else, and give them their autonomy and work with them just like you would another employee. When you're at work, you're at work, and it's not a husband and wife or father-daughter type of thing. It's that's Renee's
that's
thing.
the most important part to manage, I think, is that the separation of house and business, right? You know, in so much as that's possible, it's going to bleed over.
It does.
Of
I
course.
think it's more important to make sure it happens at work. Because when you're at home, we always talked about our business.
Of course.
Businesses. It was our whole life, you know. So we could easily veer in and out of it. It wasn't like, hey, we talk about it too much, so we're not going to talk at the table about business. Well, my life has been business, so we're talking about it, but then we roll right into the kids' school or sports or whatever it is.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. But
at work, we stay away from the family stuff.
You got it. At work, you're not saying my wife, my daughter, go talk to Renee, go talk to Sky, whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly.
They handle that.
And I make it clear to all of our partners and everything. It's like they come to me with something and it's like, whoa, like I want to get you taken care of.
Yep.
I have no idea how to help you. I could figure it out, but I'm going to let this person who's the expert at that here do it for you because it's their job. Talk to Lisa. And it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
just like I would if Lisa was a regular employee, which essentially she is.
They are. That's right.
That we have a separate relationship that's not hidden, obviously, but that's the only difference. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. The way you should interact with them is someone who does not know your names and does not know you should not be able to tell that you are related to that person.
Correct.
That's the test.
That's the test. So, if they don't know your names. Yeah.
So, but I'd love to hear, if you've had working with spouses and or family members, feedback at businessbrain.show. If you've got other questions for Michael and his bin store concept, feel free to reach out to us and we'll forward them over to him. And have a great weekend. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, folks. Like he said, feedback at businessbrain.show. Follow us on X. He's Shannon Jean. I'm Dave Hamilton. The show is BizBrain Show. And keep living that charmed life, huh? We'll see you next week. And we're out.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Good episodes. So if you're listening on the stream, about 437 of you, thank you very much. If you want to hear the audio of these again, we'll be posting them. You'll see them up if you're following on X or Facebook or LinkedIn. You will see us post them. And thanks again. I'm going to end the stream.
You can do that. Thanks. Later, everybody.
See ya.